couple of weeks ago I did that video on the AMG GTS, the 600 horsepower thing that kicked my ass, that I love driving. Well, the owner of that car was driving my Porsche 911 during the filming of that video, and we got back from filming that video and he goes, "Oh my God, I just love your car, Nick. I just love your 911. And that week he traded the AMG and got a 911, this 911. It's a GTS in Miami Blue. And Miami Blue is a tricky color because in the showroom it looks too bright, so people tend to shy away from it. But in real life, Miami Blue really shines. And just driving this car today, lots of people give me the thumbs up. You know, people love this color on the road. And in the GTS, it actually works as well. And as we all know, I give the GTS just a little bit of grief. You know, I think the GTS is a little bit of a medallion-wearing model of the 911. I'm not a big fan of some of the styling cues within the GTS. You know, the Alcantara, the black wheels, the body kit, etc., etc. It's a bunch of unnecessary add-ons, like pouring ketchup all over a sirloin steak. But that's just my personal taste. Obviously, the GTS is a super popular model that sells well, and it's still a fantastic 911. So, what is the GTS? Well, it's really a package model in my mind. You get a lot of features packaged nicely that you can get in the S models, and if you package them all in the S models, it'll cost you $22,000, $25,000, but in the GTS that package costs about $15,000. So if you like all the sports exhaust and the wheels and the power kit engine and all the bits and pieces you get in a GTS, and I'll go over every single one when we get back to my place, it is a bargain of a car, the GTS. But of course the key feature of the GTS is the power kit engine. And really a lot of nonsense has been said about this engine being the have-all and end-all of Carrera engines. It is fundamentally the same engine as in the standard Carrera and the Carrera S, like my car. It's just got slightly bigger turbochargers. So that gives it 30 more horsepower and 40 more pounds-feet of torque. And how much is that? Is that really noticeable? It's slightly noticeable. It's noticeable between sort of 4,000 and 5,000 RPM. You just get a little bit more of a bump in torque. And it feels just a tiny bit more powerful in the top end as well. But the difference is slight. And I know people will go, "Oh Nick, you're just jealous of the more powerful engine." And maybe that's the case. But really, I can't express this more. It is not a big difference. People talk about this being a huge bump in power. It really isn't. We're talking 8%, and when you drive the two cars back to back, it's hardly noticeable. And we'll see that. I'll do a drag race in a minute, and you'll see that. I expect this is a lighter car. This is the two-wheel drive model, and my car's the four-wheel drive model. So mine's got, and this has got an empty tank of gas. My car's got a full tank of gas. So my car's more than 100 pounds heavier. So I suspect when we do the drag race, it will more come down to driver skill than power of the engine. If we were both neck and neck, I think this GTS would only be maybe a car length ahead of my car in a drag race, sort of 30 to 100 miles an hour. Officially, Porsche say it's only 1/10 of a second faster to 60 miles an hour. And just like everything Porsche does, of course, they give you something and they take something away. And here's something that no one ever talks about with this power kit engine, which is obvious to me. And that is that because it's got the bigger turbochargers, it does take half a second longer to get on the power. You feel that little bit of hesitation and lag because it takes longer for those turbochargers to come up. What I'm talking about here is, here I am at 4,000 RPM, I put my foot down, it's just a half a second longer than it would be in my car, and maybe a second longer than the Carrera, the base model Carrera engine, which I love. I've talked about this in other videos. The base model engine is the most like a naturally aspirated engine, whereas this power kit engine is the least like the naturally aspirated engine. So if you want power, this is the engine to have, but if you want response, the base model engine is the most fun engine in my mind. I love that base model engine. Here I am back in my little Carrera 4S and ready to lose another drag race. Although this one should be pretty close. There's little chance of me winning because with the four-wheel drive system, this car's 100 pounds heavier, and of course it has 30 horsepower less, so I'm not going to win, but it should be pretty close. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, I'm surprised. I was almost pulling ahead of you there.
100%. I didn't have it in Sports Plus though.
Ah. All right, we might give it another try. Let's. I'll pull over up here. Okay, let's go again. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, I won the second time as well. I just wonder whether he's just not pushing his car hard enough in order to win the race, because I am at a number of disadvantages. This car is heavier. This car has a full tank of gas. His car's almost empty. And of course, he has the slightly more powerful engine. But it just goes to show that the GTS power kit engine really isn't that much more powerful. It's just a little bit more powerful. So it really comes down to more driver skill in a drag race between these two cars, which are so closely matched power-wise. Okay, we're back at my place so that we can go over the features of the GTS. So starting with the most expensive component of the GTS package, the engine. And as I said, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. We all like having a little bit more power, but is it $6,000 worth of extra power? I don't know. You'd have to decide. I think you'd have to be a professional driver in order to get the benefit out of this engine. Personally, I think it's the most disappointing part of the GTS package to me. Next is definitely my favorite component of the GTS package, the wide-bodied rear styling on the two-wheel drive models. This is pretty awesome, and to me, it's the only thing that's ever been missing off the S-model Carreras, is the ability to have the wide-body rear end, which is normally reserved to the four-wheel drive cars. So it's very nice to see this combination on the GTS. Also on the outside is the sport design front fascia. It gives the front end a little bit more of an aggressive look. This is another thing which is a bit of a mixed bag. People just look at it from the looks point of view, but of course there's functionality changes here as well. Because the sport front fascia sticks forward a little further and is a little lower than the regular fascia on a Carrera, this does have the tendency to scrape a lot more. Like driving into my driveway, I can bring my 4S in straight on and not scrape. But with the GTS, I've got to take it slowly and at an angle. And that's certainly annoying to a lot of people, that their car scrapes a lot more. But arguably, a much bigger change in functionality with this sport front fascia is its lack of active cowling. What I'm talking about is, these days, the Carreras have active cowling vents on the front to regulate the amount of air that's going to the radiators. With the sport front fascia, you can't get that. And this is a big reason why the GTS has worse fuel economy ratings. Also on the outside are the sport mirrors. The sport mirrors obviously just a more sporty shape, pretty popular, and I think they look pretty nice in this color. The only downside of the sport mirrors is that you can't get the electronic folding function that you can with the standard mirrors, which can be a big deal to some people. And around to the 20-inch center lock wheels. People love these wheels, they love the look of them. Unfortunately, I think this is one of the worst parts of the GTS package. The center lock wheels, in my mind, really don't belong on the street. And the reason I say that is because you need the specialty equipment to get them on and off, which means anything more than the most minor damage will require the wheel to come off, and to do that the car will need to be flatbedded back to the nearest Porsche dealership. This is a huge inconvenience that too many people have had to experience. So, the center lock wheels are frankly a liability on public roads. Something to consider before ticking this option. Next is the sports exhaust system included in this package. I've done a whole separate video on the sports exhaust system. You can click on it up there if you want to see what I think about the sports exhaust system. Basically, I love the sound of the sports exhaust. I'm not so fussed on the looks of the sports exhaust, but that is personal opinion. It's nice that it's part of this package. I think most people get the sports exhaust, so tick on that one. And of course, down here on the door, the model logo decal is standard on the GTS, where it's not on any other models. Not really my taste, but a standard feature nonetheless. And the final exterior package item is of course the PASM 20mm lowered. PASM is a nice feature to have and standard in the S's, but the 20mm just makes it a little lower, and you can see the difference between my car and the GTS here. Once again, this is a mixed bag option. It's supposed to make the car handle a little better. I don't know about that. That's not been my experience. I had the 20mm in my last 911 and I got the 10mm in the new one. I'd prefer to have the better ride quality of the 10mm. And onto the interior with the GT Sport wheel. This wheel has got a smaller circumference. It's a pretty popular option. Next is the Sport Chrono package. Overall, I really like the Sport Chrono package, so I'm glad that that's included in the GTS package. Another standard feature on the interior is the Sport Plus seats, in this case the four-way seats. They're one of the most comfortable seats. I really love the four-ways. They've just got slightly softer bolsters. Obviously you don't get all the adjustments of the 18-ways, but I still think the four-way Sport Plus seats are excellent seats. They're comfortable even for long distances, and they provide plenty of support. Also on the interior there's little styling changes, like there's GTS logos and Alcantara. We all know my opinion on Alcantara. And there's apparently less sound dampening, although I didn't really notice that. But overall, that's about it for the package option. There's some slight tuning changes to do with the Porsche torque vectoring as well. But that's about it for the GTS. So what's my conclusion on the 991.2 GTS? Well, it's an incredible car. Like all modern 911s, it straddles that line between exciting sports car and reliable daily driver. They really are incredible cars. Is it worth the $15,000 uptick over a regular Carrera model? It's a bit of a mixed bag for me. For me, simply, some of the features within the GTS package actually detract from the enjoyment and the drivability of owning a 911. So I would be reluctant myself to go for a GTS package. But for you, this might be the perfect car. Certainly, a lot of people love their GTSs. So I hope this video has helped you understand the benefits and perhaps some of the shortcomings of the GTS package. And if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. And remember, I'm relying on you to save the world from boring t-shirts. It's the gift that keeps on giving.